That's right. Portal season is officially back upon us for football. Also, hey, what's the biggest question mark that we have still going into the last week of spring practice? We talk Frankie Fidler's pushback commitment date and a lot more. Let's go.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That is $150 win or lose. Just visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you all so much for tuning into Locked On Spartans, your team in green and white 5 days a week. Please rate, review, subscribe, do whatever makes you happy. Comment below. Talk about the setup that we have going on this week. That's right. Still coming to you live from one of the hottest, if not the hottest laundry rooms down in Southwest Florida right now throughout the rest of the week. That's right. We're doing a road game right now. Back in the studio next week. But yeah, comment your favorite feature. Is it the light switch behind me? Is it this weird hook apparatus that I have no idea what's above me? Or if you're listening to the podcast, you have no idea what we're talking about, but you want to get in on the mix anyway. LockedOnSpartans@gmail.com. All right, time to get into the show here. It is April 16th, or it could be April 16th when you're listening to this. Regardless, that is the day the spring transfer portal window opens for college football. Now, there's a 15-day window between now and, of course, 15 days, whatever date that is. I mean, God, that seems like months from now. Nevertheless, you have then to enter the transfer portal. So really quick, things to watch for Michigan State fans. It's the obvious. It's right now, well, departures. As yes, Michigan State, a fine offseason, a really strong offseason, especially getting players that from Michigan State dove into the portal. They were able to reel back into the program. But let's not kid ourselves here. This might just be a trial period for some of these players. Now, let's see that after a few months of the new coaching staff. This isn't what they signed up for originally when they committed to Mel Tucker back in the day. This is a little bit different. They want to go test the waters again. That's, of course, something that we're going to be watching for. And a lot of us remember this. This whole wave of transfers does not have to come in the beginning. All right, we've already heard some names like linebacker Ma'anao Teote, whose name I don't have to stumble across anymore. Good luck at his next destination, but so happy I don't have to absolutely butcher that name over and over again. But what you do have to watch out for is, like we learned last year, guys, players can enter at the very end of this window. We remember Keon Coleman entering. We remember Peyton Thorne entering. So for the next 15 days, just keep an eye out for that. Now, in more fun conversations, but what does Michigan State still need in the portal? This is something we've talked about up and down the last few weeks. Really, since this offseason began, it's 3 positions for me. Right here at the top, it's cornerback. All right, this is something the staff has tried to do with Tony Grimes by way of UNC and Texas A&M. They got him, except, either credits didn't transfer or something did not go right because he's at UNLV right now. And, well, the next position, the Tony Sheffield position. That's right. No, the wide receiver position. They got TJ Sheffield. My goodness, TJ Sheffield from Purdue as wide receiver. Hopefully as that wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3 option. Same thing that happened with Tony Grimes went wrong here. He is no longer with us. So, of course, quarterback's got to be up there. And the coaching staff has seen it because, yes, you do have young guys like Chance Rucker, Caleb Coley. You also have experienced guys like Chuck Brantley, Mark Lowry. But like we've said all last year, which unfortunately became very true with those 2 experienced guys, very oftentimes they are injured, okay? So you do need as many bodies in that room as possible. The wide receiver room, you're feeling pretty good with your top 2 guys right now, Jerron Glover, Montori Foster. Yes, Nick Marsh, the true freshman. We're very excited about him. But let's say you want an experienced guy right off the bat, and also maybe a guy that could bring some, punt return, kick return expertise too. That's a hole that Tyrell Henry left when he transferred to Wisconsin. Yeah, you're going to want to plug that hole in right now. And the third is actually something that Michigan State might have lining up for themselves right now is the edge rush position or anything in the pass rush game. based on last year where Michigan State was at the bottom half of the Big Ten for sacks, we're never going to say no to more help rushing the passer. This is something you can't use enough of in college football. And luckily, hey, Michigan State might be in a good spot already. Indiana, former Hoosier, who comes here after a redshirt freshman season where he played every game for the Hoosiers, Anthony Jones is set to visit Michigan State. Now, there's a very easy connection you can make here. Chad Wilt, he was at Indiana the last few years. He is now the rush edge specialist or rush edge coach. I forgot the official title here at Michigan State. But, hey, let's say that Anthony Jones did not hate his time under Chad Wilt. Well, then you can go ahead and maybe start to feel a little good about that. So, hey, like we said, guys, there's a lot of game left. Now, these guys don't have to figure out their next schools in the next 15 days, but they can just enter. So expect Michigan State to be hot and heavy in the spring transfer portal window to clog up a few of those remaining holes. Now, the last podcast we had was 20 reasons to be excited for Michigan State football. If you commented on that video, hey, this has nothing to do with this upcoming season, but let's just go for it anyway. Damien Martinez, Oregon State running back, he announces his intentions to enter the transfer portal in this spring window, which, as if this offseason hasn't been heartbreaking enough for Beaver fans, there you have it. Their coveted all Pac-12, all-world running back, he is in the transfer portal. So if you're wondering, will Michigan State give it a sniff there? Will they kick the tires on Damien Martinez to see if he will come to East Lansing? There's no indication that Michigan State has been in connection with him. The early indications have been anywhere from far west. I've heard Utah connected to him. I've heard Miami connected to him, but it's not crazy to think that, hey, well, there's certainly some history there between Damien Martinez and some previous coaches he played under. But with the running back room that we already have with Nate Carter, Jared Mangum, Jalen Berger, would it be worth, in my opinion, trying to reel Damien Martinez over here? And I think the easy answer is quite simply just yes. And I know on yesterday's show, we just talked about how, I'm more high on the running back room than a lot of other people are. The guys like Carter, Berger, and Mangum, I feel like that's a strong stable. Maybe not like top 3 in the Big Ten, but definitely upper half of the Big Ten. But nevertheless, nothing that can't be enhanced. I know it would be tough to say to those guys, hey, sorry, we're bringing Damien Martinez in. But at 6 feet, 230 pounds, he had 6.1 yards per carry last year. This is a guy that just raises the floor of your offense immediately. So, look, this is probably a pie-in-the-sky thing. There's no indication that Michigan State is after him. But as far as big names go, big names with connections to this staff, maybe Damien Martinez is another name just to ponder about for a hot second there. Now, another comment on the YouTube video that we got yesterday is any word on Alex Van Sumeren? We talked a lot about how strong the defensive tackles are going to be next year, both literally and figuratively. Right off the top, Derek Harmon, Simeon Barrow, and then the transfer from Georgia Tech, Daquan Dowse. That's a strong trio right there. And then Maverick Hansen returning for yet another year of college football. We did not bring up Alex Van Sumeren, so I'm glad this was brought up because this was one of those highly coveted guys that Mel Tucker got in his era. It was a great in-state recruiting win for Michigan State. What has really been a bummer for Alex Van Sumeren is how his career has started. Not only does he have to go up against those 4 guys we just named for 2 positions, right? I mean, it's hard for him to even get on the 2 deep. But if you remember, before his freshman year, knee injury. Okay, and then what happens before his sophomore year? An even more debilitating knee injury. So this guy has had 2 big knee injuries before he could even really get into the college flow. He played some games as a true freshman, but it was nothing serious and certainly did not last year as he was sidelined with that leg injury. So, look, I'm certainly hopeful he can go back and be, that 4-star prospect that we were all hoping he could be, but it is really, really hard to come in that behind the 8 ball when you've missed all that development, when you've missed all that experience after 2 years. So I'm not calling it a career for Alex Van Sumeren. This is more of me just saying, maybe let's water down our expectations for now. Let's not expect something big from him in 2024, but let's just hope that he can get on the field to start actually experiencing the college game to begin with. Folks, we are going to be back here in a hot second, but first need to talk your ears off about FanDuel Sportsbook. Yes, March Madness is over. Yes, college football season is still 20 weeks away, or I guess 19 weeks if you count week 0. But you can still bet on all the college sports action over at FanDuel. We're talking futures for your Michigan State Spartans, whether it's the football field or the basketball court. Hey, if you're a Detroit fan out there, the Red Wings have a massive game against the Canadiens coming up tonight. Go ahead and fancy a wager on that game. Or if you're like me, you like to hedge your happiness, go ahead and bet on the Canadiens because, well, if you got to see Detroit miss out on the playoffs, at least you want to be paid for it. I do that plenty at FanDuel. And if you're a new customer, well, check this out. New customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That is $150 win or lose. You can bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks for the NHL and NBA playoffs and MLB season. And it's all in an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So what are you waiting for out there? Visit FanDuel.com/locked on and make your first bet an automatic win. It's FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Also, folks, Monopoly Go. This is an app you have to download. We've all been there, either as a player or a fan. It's halftime and the scoreboard is not looking too good. You're feeling low, not sure you or the team can pull out a win, and that's when you dig deep. You lift up your head and you say to yourself, time to get back in the game, pull off some bake heist, and take as much money from my friends as I possibly can. That's right, we've all been there. It's the smash hit mobile game, Monopoly Go. It lets you compete against your friends to get the most riches in the biggest empire. It's the Monopoly you and I love, but it's on your phone anytime with tons of new twists, including leaderboards to compare yourself and your progress to your buddies. And there's so much to do, like play on the countless boards they have. You can bankrupt your friends and smash their landmarks with a wrecking ball, or charge them rent for your iconic properties. Or I guess if you actually just want to be friendly, you can work with your friends too in this game to crack open community chests in tournaments to get extra rewards and climb the leaderboard. So get back out there, put your game face on, and download Monopoly Go for free on the App Store or Google Play. All right, back into the mix here, Locked on Spartans, your team in green and white, and we're going to go over to the basketball court here because we got to talk shooty hoops. Because waking up this morning on Monday, I expected to tune into my favorite AM radio station in Omaha, as Frankie Fidler originally planned on, to hear where he was going to be transferring to. Now, Frankie Fidler, if you're not familiar, if you live a happy and healthy life and you're not just so involved with Michigan State sports that you know of every transfer out there, Frankie Fidler, he is a forward/wing player that played for Omaha, averaged 20 points, 7 rebounds, great player. He's in the transfer portal. He just visited Michigan State over the weekend. Before that, he visited Nebraska, Creighton, and Wisconsin. Those are his final 4 teams, supposed to commit somewhere on Monday, but we wake up and he delays his decision. Now it's still going to come down the pike this week is what the reports are right now. But that's great news. Or is it? Guys, I'm going to shoot you straight. I really don't know. I am tremendously sorry to not come to you with any further inside information or a further hunch, but delaying the decision could go either one of 2 ways. Now, let's all hold hands and skip through the daisies together. Let's act like this is a good thing. Now, why could this be a good thing? For a while, it was long thought that Wisconsin was the team to beat. All right, that they actually have the big lead amongst the other 3 teams. But then again, he visits Michigan State this last weekend before he was set to make this announcement. So could it be a thing where he had a great visit at Michigan State and then at the end saying to himself, well, actually, that was kind of weird. I was really dead set on Wisconsin. I was going to hop on that radio station in Omaha and say, well, I'm going to be a Badger. But that visit actually went so well that I'm a little confused right now, and I need to rethink some things. Holy crap. I could play for Tom Izzo. I have an immediate plug-in-and-play position. I will be a day 1 starter here. I will be an impact player. Or maybe it's kind of bad because, well, I can't fault any of you for thinking this out there. If the visit went just so gosh darn well in East Lansing, well, why didn't he just instantly commit right there? So, again, if you're a glass half full person, maybe you're thinking to yourself or talking yourself into saying, well, it's because he was so set on one school that Michigan State just muddied the waters that much. And I do want to throw this in too. I don't know how serious this is, but I've seen it and read it enough online. And of course, everything you see and read on the internet is true. So we're going to actually absolutely take this at face value. Is that like there's also like a slight rumor that he could be returning just back to Omaha? Why wouldn't you go back to a school you've only won 20-some games at your last 3 years there? But nevertheless, we're going to keep an eye on this. And we're not going to kid ourselves. We're not going to do the thing of, oh, if he goes elsewhere, it's not that big of a deal for Michigan State and good riddance to him. No, I think this is a big deal for Michigan State because, look, we've talked ad nauseum about what a wing player can do for Michigan State. It puts your guys in position to play their real positions. You could have Cohen Carr play the 4 instead of a lot of the 3. You could have Jaden Akins play a lot of the 2 instead of the 3. But it's just the player Frankie Fidler is. You heard me talk about it right at the top there. 20 points, 7 rebounds, 35% shooter from 3. So solid clip from three-point land, but also 85% from the free throw line. So this guy is as solid of a shooter as it gets. He can finish in the lane. He has many years of experience in college. This is a player that you are looking for and have been looking for since this offseason began. So, no, I'm not going to do the thing where it's like, oh, well, if he doesn't come here, oh, that's okay. He is only an Omaha player. Like, no, this guy was first team All-Summit League. Like, this guy is a baller. Now, will he average 20-7 here at Michigan State? It's probably a stretch for him to be the next Dalton Connect, but I would not be shocked to see him average, I don't know, 13, 14 a game, perhaps. And yeah, we could use that, especially after losing an offensive piece in Tyson Walker. Different position, but we're replacing a lot of points with just his departure. So keep your eyes on that. Also, just some other basketball offseason transfer portal talk news. Hey, remember Javon Hadley? Remember when he entered the transfer portal and it was between Iowa State and Michigan State? He visited Iowa State. It seemed dead set that he was going to be a Cyclone, and then, well, hold on. He hasn't committed there yet. Is Michigan State back into the fold here because he was the only other team that he was talking to? And, oh, what's this? Hold on. Let me check my notes here. Well, Javon Hadley is down between Louisville and USC all of a sudden. So I'm sure somewhere in the walls or the halls of Breslin Center, Tom Izzo had himself a very nice rant after that report came out that now, despite courting Iowa State and Michigan State for the longest time, screw it. We're just going to blow it all up, and I'm in between Louisville and USC. When Izzo cries and whines about the transfer portal and just how absurd it is, that's exactly what he's talking about, guys. SHI, you know what, like that. So, not great. The fact that this has happened this offseason, because it's kind of just confirming what Izzo's worries have been with the transfer portal. All right, another fun news. Trey Townsend, the Oakland Star Horizon League Player of the Year. If you watched the Kentucky game, you know who we're talking about here. Great player. Michigan State has reached out to him. There's been communication between the two parties. Well, he just got done with a visit in Ann Arbor, visiting Michigan, and he has 3 more lined up. This is courtesy of Joe Tipton of On3. He tweeted this late Monday night. He's also going to visit Louisville, Ohio State, and Arizona. Great. Awesome. This offseason is going really well, guys. This is great. Just throwing all of our hopes in a guy from Omaha to rescue us from our misery of the offseason. And no, I'm not just saying that because it's just so quiet around East Lansing and I'm just a grumpy old person that just can never find happiness in my sports life. And, well, that may be true. That's not entirely correct. I'm also just getting a little jealous now of other teams in the conference. And no, not just the Illinois of the world that get AJ Storr basically on their team while he's still playing for Wisconsin. No, but recently in the last few days, you have Omar Ballo, an awesome front court player from Arizona, transferring to Indiana, which you can understand. Okay, Mike Woodson, say what you will about Indiana, their trajectory as a program, him as a coach, it is undeniable he can actually develop big men. right? Like, he's done it with Trace Jackson Davis, who's having himself a fine early career in the NBA. He just turned Kel'el Ware into really kind of a player at Oregon into what will be an NBA draft pick this upcoming draft. And now, Will Ballo wants a little bit of that action. I get that. But what breaks my back is when former 5-star McDonald's All-American Aaron Bradshaw transfers from Kentucky to Ohio State, letting Jake Diebler run the show in the offseason, the transfer portal. That should leave a great taste in everyone's mouth. And no, Aaron Bradshaw is just a dog. I mean, that guy is an incredible player. So not only is Michigan State not getting any of these great big men, we get to play them next year. So awesome offseason we got going here. All right, folks, we will be back here in the hot second, get to a few mailbag questions, and also talk good transfer portal news for the women's team we're going to start next segment with. But first, LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to go check out LinkedIn Jobs. Now, LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and, my favorite part, for free. Now, LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn helps you find and hire professionals you cannot find anywhere else, even those that aren't even actively searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, only 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking at LinkedIn, well, you're just looking in the wrong place. And for small business owners, they know you're wearing so many hats and don't have time to resource that hire that they just want to take care of it for you. Join the 2.5 million small businesses that use LinkedIn for their hiring. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions, you got that right, they apply. All right, so now that we're done just sobbing into a puddle about Michigan State's men's basketball offseason here, let's give some credit to the women's team here. Okay, and later this week, we're going to be talking to someone on the women's team staff. That's right, little teaser for you right there. So, hey, Grace Van Sluten out of Oregon. She played 2 years over there, 6'3" forward. She averaged 15 points and 7 rebounds in her sophomore season for the Ducks. She commits to Michigan State early Monday out of the transfer portal, and that is a great pickup. Like I said, we'll reiterate this, 15 points, 7 rebounds. And Van Sluten, who is from Toledo, some local flavor on this one, is a former top 15 prospect. All right, so Robin Freilich, not just guiding Michigan State to the NCAA tournament in her first year, not just a top 4 seed in the Big Ten tournament, not just becoming one of those high-flying offenses in the Big Ten and also the country, also getting it done early in the transfer portal. So shout out to Robin Freilich. All right, we're going to go into the mailbag here. We're going to talk about baseball and softball here in a second. Things aren't going so great over there. But first, this comes from Ray over at lockedonspartans@gmail.com. Can you have Jason, Nick from Couch and Rubon? You're both funny and charismatic dudes, and content is gold this time of year. I actually love that guest recommendation. If you guys have any guest recommendations that you want to see on this show, hit me up there. I would love to have Jason Nick on this. Him and Graham Couch are a dynamic duo on the Couch and the Rube podcast. Of course, we've had Graham on here many a time. I will try to work on getting Jason here because I don't know about me being funny and charismatic, but I know that guy is, so that would be a dynamite conversation. Question number 2 from Ray. Have you ever been kicked out of an MSU sporting event or come close? No, I've not been kicked out. And I consider coming close, like if security has approached you and has told you you need to tone it down, which no, I have not. However, the closest to me might actually, as ashamed as I am to say this as a 31-year-old grown person with, at the time, just 1 kid, soon to be 2 kids, it was last year probably in that opener against CMU because after, 2 or 3 drives, I was, what's that word everyone uses now? Apoplectic about Noah Kim still being in the game and Kaiten Hauser not being the quarterback. That was one of those mornings the following day where I woke up and I just woke up ashamed of myself, my behavior, because I was screaming loud. I was screaming not nice words. And there's families that go to these games. I was ashamed of myself. I vowed to change after that. It's not to say I do that every single game, but that was more of a let's make sure that never happens again, Matt moment. But that's probably the closest I have been there. That's one thing that's great about just having Aiden Childs and no quarterback battle is that you don't have to scream about who should be in the game at quarterback when it kicks off. Now, speaking of quarterbacks, question number 3, what do you think is MSU's depth chart at quarterback, and would you feel comfortable starting a backup against Prairie View A&M? Well, we know the second guy is Tommy Schuster, the transfer over from North Dakota. He's from Chippewa Valley, local kid, Metro Detroit area kid. Now, could you start him against Prairie View A&M for week 3? Yeah, I think so. Look, and that's no disrespect to Prairie View A&M, but just as disrespect them a little bit. Last year, not too great of a season. Yes, they went 6-6, but in their lone game against a Power 5 team, the Mustangs of SMU, they lost 69-0. Okay, that's tough. Me, Ray, and the first 9 listeners of this podcast probably could put up a good fight against Prairie View A&M. Just to keep on going, they lost 65-16 against Abilene Christian and 45-7 against Florida A&M. So that is what we are looking at with Prairie View A&M. So good luck. Thanks a lot for being the sacrificial lamb for us here. We will see you in week 3 of the football season. Now this from MSU Number One Fan. And I have a feeling I'm going to rain on your parade here, MSU Number One Fan, because they write in, how's our baseball and softball? And when will they be shown on the Big Ten Network? Well, that is unfortunate timing for that question, because on the great app of Twitter, or X, whatever you guys want to call it out there, we learned a little bit about our baseball team because, well, these were the last scores to flash across the timeline. 21-1, 14-0, 7-2. I was sitting down with my wife on Sunday night, and I said, babe, just quick little fun game. Just, we like to keep things spontaneous and fresh here. Fun game we've never played before. Football score or baseball score? Go ahead and take your guess as to what these are. And, guys, those were the scores of not just random games throughout the year for baseball, but 3 games in a row for baseball against Purdue. 21-1. 14-0, 7-2. They were outscored 42-3 over a 3-game series against Purdue. And Purdue, it's not like they're world beaters. Okay, this isn't like a bona fide SEC team. They were 5-4 in the conference before this series. Now, it doesn't help too. It's about a week ago, MSU in a 7-inning game lost to Central Michigan 10-0. So I have 2 things. The first is, quite simply, why tweet these final scores out? Why tweet these graphics out? Guys, I love Michigan State. I love baseball. I would not have known these games happened, though, if they didn't share these on social media. And I got a feeling a lot of State fans are like that, too. We wouldn't have heard about 21-1, 14-0 if they just never posted it. So for the sake of good PR, just keep that all to yourselves. If anyone is that diehard of a fan to realize it, just let that be their problem, okay? You don't got to broadcast it to the world, for people like, well, us Michigan State fans that don't keep a close eye on baseball to realize. So that brings us to point number 2. Enough. Enough. This has not, and I'm not going to make an indictment on the whole Michigan State program just in a 3-game series, because it goes back a little further than that. So they had the top record in the regular season in the Big Ten in 2016. Since then, just 1 Big Ten tournament berth since 2016. You have to finish in the top 8 of the Big Ten to go to the Big Ten tournament. They have 1 such finish. It happened in 2018, and they slid in through the back door as an 8 seed. As we know, Jake Boss has been around for a long time. One of the most winningest coach, if not the winningest coach in Michigan State baseball history. He's guided Michigan State to a conference title way back in the day. It's one of the best coaches Michigan State will ever have. But what's that really saying? This ain't some decorated program we're talking about here. I'm surely you can realize that we are in the basement and we're probably not going to be climbing out of it. So, as weird as it is, just come on here and say we need a change at baseball, a sport that as it comes to like how much passion do you have for it, let's be honest, guys. It's not as much passion for baseball as there is for football, basketball, hockey. Like, still, enough is enough. I think a good litmus test or a good rule of thumb is if your own fan base is kind of laughing at you at what you have going on, it's probably a good time to just like change some scenery here. Alan Haller, he's made some great hires, especially in the non-revenue sports guys. Like, we've seen it happen. I can think of the next sport, though, that might need a scenery change now. Softball, on the other hand, they are. I'm sorry, but before we get to softball, baseball, for the record, 14-19 overall, 3-6 in Big Ten play. Now, softball, we're going to be a little shorter on. Sharonda McDonald-Kelly, she's in her second season. Needless to say, it's not like she took over an Oklahoma-like program. We're going to give her a few years before we really start making an indictment on the kind of program that she's running here. But right now, 15-25 overall, 2-10 in Big Ten play. They actually just beat Penn State for a nice little highlight. Penn State, one of the best teams in the Big Ten in softball. But yeah, I'm not going to just rail on softball here. That's a sport that's had needed a lot of love since the later years of the Jackie Joseph era. So, Sharonda, we're not going to rail on you here right now because baseball's given us enough to rail on. Funny enough, or not funny enough whatsoever, actually, Michigan State tweeted out a graphic. It was just like the number 42 because it's Jackie Robinson Day today on as we're recording this on April 15th. And honestly, my first reaction was, why are they posting the amount of runs that they gave up to Purdue over a 3-game span? And then it's like, oh, it's a Jackie Robinson tribute. Oh, excuse me. So MSU, number one fan, I'm so sorry that went as negative as it just did right there, but that's how baseball and softball are going. All right, guys, we are going to be back tomorrow. We're going to have a great guest lined up. Don't want to announce it yet because I don't want to jinx anything. It's been a scheduling snafu so far, 100% my fault. So if anything, just crumbles at the very end there. Don't want to throw them under the bus, but I'm very excited to talk to this gentleman. It's been way too long since we had him on, so I'm looking forward to that. Folks, you know where to find us, Locked on Spartans. Love you all. Go Green.